Most chicken keepers are one bad season away from losing everything they built. A disease outbreak wipes out a flock of commercial hybrids overnight. Feed prices spike and the math stops working. A cold snap tanks a production for 3 months straight. And the farmer who bet everything on fragile, high-yield birds is left with empty coops and empty shelves. But there's a group of growers quietly doing something different. They are not chasing the fastest grow-out times or the highest daily egg counts on paper. They are building something that lasts. And the birds at the center of their strategy are not the ones you will find at your average farm supply store. They are giants. Literally. Today we are breaking down the 7 massive heritage breeds that serious homesteaders are integrating right now to build protein systems that survive market chaos, climate swings, and supply chain failures. We are talking real numbers on meat yields, egg consistency, feed efficiency, and long-term farm sovereignty. By the time this video ends, you will know exactly which birds deserve space on your acreage and why the growers ignoring these breeds are leaving serious food security on the table. Stay with me because the last breed on this list is the one almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important decision you make for your homestead in 2026. Let us start with something that most poultry content refuses to say out loud. The commercial hybrid model is a fragile system dressed up to look efficient. Cornish cross broilers hit 8 pounds in 6 weeks. Leghorn layers push out over 300 eggs a year. Those numbers look incredible until you understand what is underneath them. These birds were engineered for controlled industrial environment. Controlled temperature, controlled lighting cycles, controlled specialized feed rations, controlled biosecurity protocols. Pull any one of those variables and the performance collapses. A Cornish cross cannot forage. It barely moves. It is so front-heavy that leg problems are practically built into the breed. And when you take it off the precise feed program it was designed for, the feed-to-weight conversion ratio falls apart fast. For a commercial operation running hundreds of thousands of birds with full infrastructure support, the model still works. For a homesteader trying to build real food independence on 5 to 50 acres, it is a single point of failure waiting to break you. Heritage giant breeds operate on a completely different logic. They were developed over generations to thrive in variable conditions, convert diverse forage into body mass, and remain productive across multiple seasons. The grow-out is longer. Yes, the daily egg count per bird is lower than an industrial layer. Yes, but what you get in return is a system that keeps working when everything around it goes wrong. That is the economic argument before we even get to the first breed. You are not optimizing for peak performance in ideal conditions. You are building resilience. And in 2026, with feed costs still elevated and grocery store volatility becoming the new normal, resilience is the most valuable asset on any homestead. Now let us get into the birds themselves. The first breed is a Jersey Giant, and if you only take one thing from this entire video, let it be this. The Jersey Giant is the most underrated dual-purpose bird in North American homesteading. Developed in New Jersey in the late 1800s, these birds were specifically bred to replace the turkey as a premium table bird on American farms. Black Jersey Giants are the most common, but you will also find whites and blues. Roosters regularly hit 13 pounds. Hens come in at 10. These are not exaggerations. This is standard breed weight for a properly raised Jersey Giant. Now here's where the data gets interesting. Because Jersey Giants grow slowly, most people dismiss them as inefficient. But efficiency is not just about how fast a bird reaches weight. It is about what that weight costs you to produce and what you can do with it afterward. Jersey Giant hens are consistent layers throughout the year, including winter months when most breeds slow down significantly. They produce large to extra-large brown eggs. Not the highest daily output, but reliable, season-long production from a bird that is also giving you 4 to 6 pounds of dress carcass when the time comes. That dual-purpose caloric output, sustained across multiple seasons on a single animal, changes the math entirely. Their temperament is calm. They integrate well with mixed flocks. And because of their size, they carry a natural deterrent against aerial predators. Hawks that will target a Plymouth Rock will think twice about a 13-pound rooster standing in the open. The one consideration with Jersey Giants is time. You are looking at 6 months minimum for a rooster to reach ideal processing weight, and closer to 8 to 10 months for optimal meat quality. If you cannot think in those time frames, this breed will frustrate you. But if you can build a rolling breeding program, the return is exceptional. The second breed is the Brahma, and this is where things start to get genuinely fascinating from a systems perspective. Brahmas originated in India and were developed in the United States through the 1800s as a premier meat and egg producer. They come in 3 primary color varieties: light, dark, and buff, all of which share the same structural characteristics. Roosters reach 12 to 13 pounds. Hens hit 9 to 10. But the most remarkable feature of the Brahma is not its size. It is its feathering. Brahmas carry exceptionally dense plumage across the body and down the legs, and that feathering functions as a biological thermal management system that no commercial hybrid can replicate. In climates with harsh winters, a Brahma hen maintains a laying cycle at temperatures that would completely shut down lighter frame birds. The insulation is that effective. This is not anecdotal. Homesteaders in northern climates consistently report that their Brahma hens are producing eggs through January and February while the rest of the flock has dropped to near zero. When you are trying to maintain a reliable weekly egg count for your household through the coldest months of the year, that consistency has direct financial value. You are not buying eggs through winter. You are not managing a laying gap. The Brahmas just keep working. On the meat side, Brahmas dress out cleanly with a good bone-to-meat ratio. The carcass is full and well-muscled through the breast and thigh, which makes them genuinely useful at the table rather than just impressive to look at. Their temperament is one of the gentlest of any large breed. Brahmas are calm, easy to handle, and adapt well to confinement, though they also do fine on pasture. For homesteaders managing mixed-age flocks or working with younger children, that temperament is a real operational advantage. The third breed is a Cochin, and the Cochin earns its place on this list through a combination of brooding instinct and winter hardiness that most growers completely overlook. Cochins are large, heavily feathered birds with a famously round, fluffy appearance. Standard Cochin roosters can reach 11 pounds, hens around 8 to 9. They are not the fastest growers and they are not the highest egg producers. But what Cochins do better than almost any other breed is go broody, and that matters enormously in a closed-loop homestead system. In a self-sufficient breeding program, you need hens that will hatch and raise their own chicks. Incubators require electricity. Purchased chicks require hatchery dependence. A Cochin hen, once she decides to set, is an utterly dedicated mother. She will sit through temperature swings, resist disturbances, and raise chicks with a competence that improves your flock renewal rate dramatically. For growers trying to eliminate outside inputs from their protein system, Cochins are a foundational piece. Their cold hardiness is also exceptional. The heavy feathering that makes them look like fluffy balls keeps them productive and comfortable in cold climates, though it does require more attention in wet conditions to prevent moisture accumulation in the leg feathers. Cochins also have a calm, curious personality that makes them easy to work with. They are not flighty or aggressive. They fit well in rotational systems and adapt quickly to handle a presence. The fourth breed is a Delaware, and this one surprises people every time because Delawares occupy a position that almost no other heritage breed holds. They are fast for a heritage bird. Developed in the 1940s in Delaware as a commercial meat breed before the Cornish crust took over the industry, Delawares have been largely forgotten by mainstream poultry operations. But homesteaders are rediscovering them for exactly the reason the industry abandoned them. They grow faster than most heritage breeds while still carrying the dual-purpose genetics and temperament that make them useful on a working farm. Delaware roosters reach 8 to 9 pounds at maturity. Not as large as a Jersey Giant or Brahma, but they get there in meaningfully less time. And Delaware hens are excellent layers of large brown eggs, maintaining solid production across seasonal transitions. What makes Delawares particularly valuable in a diversified heritage flock is how they fill the timeline gaps. In a rolling breeding program, you want birds reaching processing weight at staggered intervals. Delawares give you that mid-range option between a fast-growing hybrid and the longer grow-out of your bigger giants. They smooth out your meat production calendar without requiring you to compromise on temperament or dual-purpose utility. Delawares are also heat-tolerant compared to heavily feathered breeds, which makes them a better choice for growers in southern climates who still want size and laying consistency without the feather maintenance that comes with Brahmas or Cochins. The fifth breed is a Dominique, the oldest American chicken breed in continuous existence, and it belongs on this list because of what it survived rather than what it produces. Dominiques are medium-large birds, roosters around 7 to 8 pounds, hens around 5 to 6. They are not the heaviest carcass on this list, but Dominiques are disease-resistant, cold-hardy, efficient foragers, and they have been bred for rugged independence for over 2 centuries. This is a breed that was shaped by actual farm conditions across American history, not laboratory optimization. What Dominiques contribute to a diversified flock is genetic robustness. When you are building a closed breeding program, you need animals that maintain health and productivity with minimal intervention. Dominiques tick that box consistently. They forage aggressively, reducing your feed input per bird. They go broody regularly, supporting your flock renewal cycle. And they tolerate weather conditions that would stress commercially derived genetics. Their laying is respectable for a dual-purpose bird, producing medium-sized brown eggs on a reliable seasonal cycle. They are not laying machines, but they are steady, and steady matters when you are managing a real farm rather than a spreadsheet. Dominiques also bring heritage genetics into your breeding program that strengthens the overall flock over time. Crossing Dominique hens with Jersey Giant or Brahma roosters produces offspring that carry size, cold hardiness, and foraging ability in one animal. Many advanced homesteaders use Dominiques as the backbone of a custom breeding program, rather than keeping purebreds exclusively. The 6th breed is the Orpington, and specifically the Buff Orpington, which has earned a reputation as the most reliably productive dual-purpose heritage breed available to homesteaders today. Buff Orpingtons were developed in England in the late 1800s and immediately became a favorite on both sides of the Atlantic for exactly the reasons they remain popular now. Roosters reach 9 to 10 pounds. Hens come in at 7 to 8. They are well muscled through the breast and thigh, dress out cleanly, and produce a carcass that holds its own against anything outside the industrial broiler category. But what separates Orpington from most breeds on this list is their laying consistency. Buff Orpington hens are reliable year-round layers of large brown eggs. Their production does not collapse in cold weather the way lighter breeds tend to, and they maintain solid output into their 2nd and 3rd laying seasons. For a homesteader who needs a single breed to handle both meat production and sustained egg output, Orpingtons are the most balanced option available. They also go broody, though not as predictably as Cochins. When they do set, they are attentive mothers with good hatch rates. Their temperament is calm, friendly, and adaptable. They do well in confined spaces and on open pasture. They are not destructive foragers, which matters when you are managing soil health on limited acreage. Orpingtons also come in other color varieties including black, white, and lavender, each with slightly different characteristics, but buffs remain the most consistent for dual-purpose production across the widest range of climates. The 7th breed, the one I told you to stick around for, is the Australorp. The Australorp holds a world record for laying. An Australorp hen once laid 364 eggs in 365 days under official testing conditions. That record still stands. But what most people miss is that Australorps are also a substantial, well-muscled bird that dresses out cleanly for the table, with roosters reaching 8 to 9 pounds. Australorps were developed in Australia from black Orpington stock specifically to maximize production under the variable conditions of a working farm rather than a controlled environment. What emerged is a bird that carries genuine dual-purpose genetics with laying performance that approaches commercial layer territory without the burnout and fragility that industrial strains carry. Here's why the Australorp might be the most important bird on this entire list for growers in 2026. When feed prices are elevated, you need maximum caloric output per unit of feed input. The Australorp gives you eggs at a rate that no other heritage breed matches, while simultaneously growing to a carcass weight that justifies eventual processing. The math on an Australorp over a 2 to 3 year period, accounting for both egg value and final meat yield, often outperforms every other breed in total caloric output per dollar of feed investment. Australorps are also exceptional foragers, healthy, disease-resistant, and calm. They handle heat reasonably well and manage cold with competence when given adequate shelter. For growers who want a single primary breed to anchor their self-sufficient protein system, and then add specialty giants like Brahmas or Jersey Giants to fill specific roles, the Australorp is the anchor bird. Now let us talk about how you actually build a system with these birds rather than just keeping a mixed flock and hoping for the best. The key concept is role differentiation. Not every breed serves every purpose equally, and understanding that allows you to design a flock where each genetic group is contributing something specific. Your heavy dual-purpose tier, Jersey Giants, Brahmas, and Cochins, provides maximum carcass weight, cold weather laying resilience, and brooding capacity. These are your long-game birds. You are not processing them at 6 weeks. You are running them through a season, evaluating productive hens for the laying flock, and cycling older roosters and spent hens into the freezer over time. Your production support tier, Orpingtons, Australorps, and Delawares, keeps your weekly egg count up and your processing calendar rolling at a pace that does not require waiting 8 months between harvests. These birds carry your household egg supply while your giant breeds develop. Your genetic resilience tier, Dominiques, serves as your insurance policy. They forage aggressively to cut feed costs. They hatch and raise chicks reliably. They keep your flock genetically diverse and hardy. And when crossed with your heavier breeds, they produce offspring that are often more vigorous than either parent line. On 10 acres, a well-designed flock built around these 7 breeds can produce enough dressed poultry and eggs to cover household protein needs, generate a secondary income stream through fertile egg and chick sales, and sustain itself through a closed breeding cycle. With minimal outside input. That is not a theory. That is what growers who are committed to this strategy are doing right now. The rotational grazing component is what makes the whole system work on limited acreage without destroying your soil. Giant breeds have a reputation for being hard on pasture because of their size. But that reputation comes from static confinement, not managed rotation. When you move a group of 12 to 15-pound birds every 3 to 4 days across a series of paddocks, the impact is actually beneficial. They scratch and fertilize without overgrazing. The rest periods allow pasture regrowth, and the forage contribution to their diet meaningfully reduces your purchase feed input. For a 10 to 20 acre property, a simple 4 to 6 paddock rotation with portable electric netting keeps your ground healthy while allowing your bird to convert grass, insects, and soil organisms into body weight and eggs at no feed cost to you. The gentle temperament of Brahmas and Cochins makes them particularly easy to move and manage in rotational systems. They do not panic, they do not fly, and they establish routine quickly. The breeding program is where long-term farm sovereignty actually gets built. Hatchery dependence is a silent vulnerability in most homestead poultry operations. You order chicks every year. The hatchery has a disease outbreak, or shipping delays, or they discontinue a breed, and your program is disrupted. A closed breeding system eliminates that vulnerability entirely. To run a closed program with these breeds, you need a minimum of 2 to 3 unrelated roosters per breed to maintain genetic diversity. You need broody hens, which Cochins and Dominiques provide reliably, or a backup incubator for insurance. And you need to be culling intentionally, selecting your most productive, healthiest, and most cold-hearted birds for breeding rather than simply keeping the most visually impressive animals. Within 2 to 3 generations of intentional selection, you will have a flock adapted specifically to your climate, your forage base, and your management style. That localized adaptation is worth more than any hatchery genetics you can purchase. The secondary income from a productive breeding program is also substantial. Fertile hatching eggs from rare heritage giants consistently sell for $8 to $15 per dozen in online markets and local farm networks. Starter pullets from these breeds sell for $20 to $40 each depending on your region and the breed. A modest surplus breeding program operating alongside your household flock can generate thousands of dollars annually in additional farm income with minimal additional infrastructure. Here is a total picture of what a diversified giant breed strategy looks like at the household level after year 2 of operation. Your weekly egg production from a flock of 30 to 40 hens across these breeds will range from 15 to 25 eggs per week through winter and 25 to 40 eggs per week through peak season. At current retail prices for pasture-raised eggs in most American and Canadian markets, that represents $40 to over $100 per week in grocery value without leaving your property. Your annual meat yield from a rolling culling and processing program will depend on your flock size, but a well-managed program of 40 birds, including roosters being cycled through, will produce 15 to 25 processed birds per year, ranging from 5 to 12 pounds dress weight. At premium heritage breed pricing, that is several hundred over $1,000 in grocery store equivalent value annually. Your breeding surplus, fertile eggs and starter pullets, adds income that pays for feed, infrastructure, and the premium birds you want to add to your program. And your input costs drop over time as your bird become better foragers, as your pasture improves under managed rotation, and as you eliminate hatchery purchases through your closed breeding program. This is what total farm sovereignty looks like in practice. Not self-sufficiency as a theory. Self-sufficiency as a working system. One more thing before we close out. There are growers watching this video right now who are going to take notes, go back to what they were doing before, and wonder in 2 years why their food security still feels fragile. And there are growers who are going to act on this, who are going to source a few breeding pairs, design a simple rotation, and start building something that lasts. The difference between those two outcomes is not resources. It is not acreage. It is whether you treat your livestock system as something you set up once and hope for the best, or something you design intentionally and refine over time. The birds on this list are not complicated. They do not require specialized infrastructure. They do not need you to have a large operation to perform. What they need is a grower who is willing to think in seasons instead of weeks, and who values resilience over short-term convenience. If you are that grower, your homestead is about to get a lot more stable. If this breakdown gave you something useful, do the channel a favor and hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds and it helps this information reach more growers who need it. Subscribe to Livestock Labs if you have not already, because we are building a library of practical, no-nonsense livestock content specifically for serious homesteaders. Every week there's something new on this channel that is designed to make your farm more productive, more resilient, and more financially sustainable. You do not want to be the grower finding out 6 months late that the rest of the community already moved on to the next level. Next up on Livestock Labs, we are going into the full rotational grazing design for small acreage poultry systems. The specific measurements, paddock layouts, and portable infrastructure setups that make this work on under 20 acres. That one is going up soon, and it connects directly to everything we covered today. Make sure you are subscribed so you catch it the day it drops. Build the flock that lasts. We will see you in the next one.